What's up, everybody? I'm Katie.
And I'm Morgan.
And this is For Your Misinformation, a podcast dedicated to empowering women to be more politically engaged so we can act in our own best interests.
Let us break down the problem and tell you what we're doing and what you can do to help solve it.
Hi, Morgan.
Hi, Katie.
What has gotten you through this past week?
So the weather's been nice, so just like making sure I take time to get outside and enjoy the sunshine has been getting me through. And then I've been binge watching Nailed It with Nicole Byer on Netflix. I love cooking shows, and I just like this one I'm finding really delightful right now. It's really bringing me a lot of levity.
Oh, yeah. So, levity's good. I've seen Nicole Byer's stand-up in person once, actually. One of the last, group activities that I was allowed to do before the virus hit. I really, really like her, but I've never watched Nailed It.
Oh, it's so funny. Like, she is hilarious. And she's also, she's, real high energy on Nailed It. But, in real life, she's a super smart person, and she's just really awesome in general. So I think that makes me like the show even better.
Yeah.
Plus, I think I'm pretty good at baking, and so I can watch this show and watch people do things and be like, wow, I would do that same thing. No, I wouldn't. No, I'm great, but also I would embarrass myself so much if I was on that show. But it's so fun.
There's a lot of pressure.
It's just so much more real than when I watch Great British Baking Show, where things where people are actually really awesome. And I'm like, yeah, these people are just like me. They cannot build a realistic shark out of fondant.
Oh,
Go them.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, it's hilarious and I love it.
Yeah.
So how about you? What's been getting you through the week?
Honestly, I've noticed that I've had peaks and valleys, which I'm sure is normal. Everybody's going through a lot. So I've been really, really bad with self-care, but I don't even know. I had to rack my brain to think of something that would count. But I ordered extra vegetables in my pad thai yesterday to trick myself into eating better. And that's honestly the best I've got this week. And I'm going to try to do better next week. But that's what we're working with at this point. Just extra vegetables is my win for the week.
You know what? I think that's great. And that counts. I rage ate some coleslaw yesterday and then washed it down with half a pan of rhubarb crisp.
Yum.
So, yeah, it's food is one of those things you can control.
Yeah.
And we can't control hardly anything in the world right now.
Precisely.
So. Yep.
Yeah, there's worse things. Oh, and then we also put birdseed in the flower box next to our side window, which the birds love, and it's been really fun to see cardinals and robins and house finches and stuff. But also my cat is really into it, and it's really fun to watch her really, really, really want to catch those birds and squirrels and just not have any chance of it. And they're not even afraid of her anymore. They're just what are you gonna do? I know how windows work.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Oh. Yeah. Oh, that's such a good idea too for watching birds. See, I couldn't do that. I think my dog would go through the window.
Probably.
Completely. She has put her face through a window before.
Oh my God.
Over a squirrel. So I absolutely cannot do that.
I'll just I posted one to Instagram. I'm going to keep posting them to Instagram because I find them adorable and enchanting. So you can just live vicariously through me.
That is delightful. And I am absolutely going to do that.
Okay, good. What kind of coronavirus updates do we have? We're recording this on April 23rd. So as of now, there have been 49,651 deaths in the United States from COVID-19. That is kind of, estimates are all over the place. If the estimate really is 100,000 deaths, it means we're about halfway through this peak, which is not to say that there won't be any more peaks or anything like that. But did you have anything else you wanted to add about coronavirus?
Yeah. So I mentioned a little bit last week about contact tracing, and that's becoming like an even bigger thing that we're talking about in public health right now. So there are people from the department that I work at who are being pulled from their regular jobs to start learning things about contact tracing so that once we're really opening things up again, we're able to hopefully do that. Mm-hmm. And in addition to, expanding access to testing and just other social distancing measures and other measures to, mitigate the spread of the virus. But for those cases that do continue to spread, that we have the ability to contact trace effectively. So that's good and promising. I think that's probably happening at local and state health departments across the country. I'm going to assume if it's happening locally where I'm at. Mm-hmm. And another thing that just this is kind of my petty complaint of the week, but I'm hearing a lot of talk about heroes. And there are a lot of everyday heroes all of the time, and especially right now during the pandemic, but also let's stop trying to make ourselves feel better by just being thank you to our heroes in reference to UPS workers and grocery store clerks and janitors. They don't want to be heroes. They're not here to be heroes. They're here to do their job and get paid a livable wage and go home to their families. And I feel especially in America, we always use the word hero as synonymous to you're gonna die or you're putting your life at risk to save others unnecessarily. And we shouldn't be putting that burden on people, especially people that just really recently were turned down to make a livable wage or receive benefits that frankly they should have been receiving this whole time. So there's just that to think about.
Yeah, I'm sure they appreciate being called heroes, but what they would really appreciate would be being able to support their family fully and being paid what they so clearly deserve, because we're seeing who's really essential right now.
Yeah. Yep. So just a little thing to keep in mind. Yeah. I'm probably kind of preaching to the choir just based on the types of people who are probably going to be listening to this, but I got to say it.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to today's main topic, which was actually inspired by a listener. So let's see what Anna has to say.
Hi, Katie. I love the podcast. So I'm terrified of climate change and how we and our national representatives are doing very little to combat it. And I really liked reading about the Green New Deal last year that AOC and Markey put through, but whatever happened to it? Is there any chance that any policies are going to change? Are representatives just not doing anything until 2020 is over and we hopefully have a new president and, different senators and that sort of thing? Thank you.
Last week was Earth Day, and I saw a lot of Instagram posts talking about important stuff like recycling and eating vegetarian, and all of that is great. But whenever I see stuff like that, I can't keep myself from thinking about how 100 companies are responsible for 71% of global emissions, which is why we need environmental regulations so that those companies are required to figure out how to operate without creating polluted air, water, and soil. So what you hear a lot from the Republican side when you start talking about those government regulations is that you don't want big government. But it is a dumb argument because everybody wants clean air and clean water. It's a bad faith argument. So when you hear it, it just keep in mind that it's what people say to distract from real issues and real solutions. So the Green New Deal is based on, or it's named after FDR's landmark New Deal, which helped Americans get through the Great Depression. And basically what it is it's only 14 pages long. I honestly have been kind of intimidated by the Green New Deal, but it's just an acknowledgement of how huge of a problem climate change is, the climate crisis is, and a commitment to try and do better in the future. It's really a no-brainer. It's kind of the only way forward. And if we had a congressional leadership made up of people who understood science and problem solving through science, it would have been passed already. So Anna talked a little bit about what might happen to it moving forward. And unfortunately, you're kind of right. Unless we take back the White House and hopefully the Senate in 2020, I don't see anything happening with the Green New Deal happening before November of this year. So I'm sorry, that's kind of a bummer. But there are a lot of cool things about the Green New Deal to keep in mind. So, like I said, it's just an acknowledgement that climate change is a huge threat. It's honestly a bigger threat to us than coronavirus is. It's just moving at a slower pace. And I don't mean to say a much slower pace. Like, it's moving at a slightly slower pace, but we don't have a ton of time to do what we need to do about climate change because it will cause massive food shortages, wildfires, mass die-offs of coral reefs, and more extreme storms, climate refugees, all kinds of problems. And these massive problems require massive solutions, and we just can't keep going at this current pace that we're at. And one thing that we talk about in public health a lot, or at least we do, have you ever heard the expression, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we let it get this far. Like, really, that's how we should be looking at it. We've known about climate change, honestly, as long as we've been alive.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And longer, really.
And the private sector knew about it even before that. But like NASA and the EPA and other government organizations have known about it since the 80s, which neither of us were born then. So it's our fault. Really, I mean, not our fault. What were we going to do? We were like babies. But it's America's fault that we haven't addressed it before now. It would have been easier to address it before. And now it's basically reached a boiling point where it's going to be really, really expensive to fix it, but it's going to be even more expensive not to fix it, because the sooner we address it and mitigate some of those problems, the less expensive it will be, which is where the Green New Deal comes in. The Senate failed to advance the Green New Deal in April 2019, so just about a year ago, which should shock no one because Mitch McConnell hates everything that's good in the world. But it's sponsored in the House by AOC and in the Senate by Ed Markey. Actually, I have a clip of AOC talking about it. She's very passionate about it. I'll play that right now.
This is not an elitist issue. This is a quality of life issue. You want to tell people that their concern and their desire for clean air and clean water is elitist? Tell that to the kids in the South Bronx, which are suffering from the highest rates of childhood asthma in the country. Tell that to the families in Flint, whose kids have their blood is ascending in lead levels. Their brains are damaged for the rest of their lives. Call them elitist. You're telling them that those kids are trying to get on a plane to Davos? People are dying. They are dying. And the response across the other side of the aisle is to introduce an amendment 5 minutes before a hearing in a markup. This is serious. This should not be a partisan issue. This is about our constituents and all of our lives. Iowa, Nebraska, broad swaths of the Midwest are drowning right now, underwater. Farms, towns that will never be recovered and never come back. And we're here and people are more concerned about helping oil companies than helping their own families? I don't think so. I don't think so. This is about our lives. This is about American lives. And it should not be partisan. Science should not be partisan. We are facing a national crisis. And if we do not ascend to that crisis, if we do not ascend to the levels in which we were threatened at the Great Depression, when we were threatened in World War II, if we do not ascend to those levels, if we tell the American public that we are more willing to invest and bail out big banks than we are willing to invest in our farmers and our urban families, then I don't know what we're here doing. I don't know what we're here doing.
And it's also co-sponsored by Kirsten Gillibrand, Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren. And conspicuously missing from that list is Joe Biden, but hopefully he will adopt all or at least some of it soon. But yeah, you see a lot of faux outrage on the right. Of course, as always, they're arguing in bad faith. So it's 14 pages. It talks about getting down to like net zero emissions. And of course, what Republicans took from that was to mean no more cows, no more cheeseburgers. So they're going to try and get rid of, they started talking on the Senate floor about cow farts and cow emissions and all kinds of stuff like that. And that's just way oversimplifying the problem. There are a lot of steps that we can take, but none of them involve eliminating all cows. So, I mean, it's like a classic right-wing playbook to not argue with like the merits of something. But so I guess we shouldn't be surprised, but that is kind of like how they distilled it down, which is a bummer. You look so sad right now.
Oh my gosh. I can't even right now, especially like being in a state that is just, I mean, agriculture is everything. I mean, that's like the whole economy here. That and like selling insurance. And it's just like, I hate that whole thing where, and you know, you hear it from a lot of conservatives around here too, where it's like anytime things related to clean water or climate come into conversation, it's immediately like, you're attacking our farmers. And it's like, no, we're not. We're trying to make sure that those farms are still going to be here in 50 years. Yeah, like, that's what we're doing.
That's a very good point. And there's a lot in the Green New Deal. There's a lot of provisions within the Green New Deal to make sure that nobody gets left behind like that. And I'll probably get to that a little bit later. But like I said, it's only 14 pages. It just sets really aggressive goals like achieving net zero greenhouse gas emissions by a certain year. I don't remember exactly. And creating new jobs in more sustainable industries like solar, and moving away from coal, which like Trump likes to call clean coal, and he likes to say it's coming back. There's no such thing as clean coal, and it's not coming back. It's just avoiding the problem for longer and longer and not addressing it, which is just like an infuriating way to operate.
I don't get this whole like obsession with him and coal.
Yeah.
Like, why would we want to do that? Like, we know it's harmful on the workers. We know it's destructive to the environment. Like, I have never seen a lump of coal in my entire life. And like, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't feel sad about that. Yes. That my family also didn't used to crowd around the radio and try to listen to our evening program together.
Yeah.
Like, why are we trying to move backwards?
Right. So, like,
stop moving backwards.
Coal miners, and for everything that you've done for our country. We got to move in a more sustainable direction now, and that's just the fact of the matter. Job
onto like above ground and not fill your lungs with coal dust.
True. That's another good point. That's not great for you. And the Green New Deal also includes provisions about creating safe and like meaningful jobs for people. It actually has a jobs guarantee as part of it, which is neat. So it's meant to kickstart a conversation and set aggressive goals and then determine how to hit them. So there's nothing in the Green New Deal about how to hit those goals. There's actually a lot of different things that we're going to have to implement. Like there's no one solution. And like we talk about with a lot of stuff, this is actually like this pause because of coronavirus is actually a really good excuse to take a look at the systems that we have in place now and figure out how we can fix them and make them better moving forward. But at this point, small incremental policy solutions just aren't enough. And it would be great if all states, so this is my example. It would be great if all states chose to expand Medicaid, but it would still be better if we had Medicare for all on the federal level. So like small incremental change, it's good, but it's not good enough here for what the stakes are just too high. And we let the problem get this big because Republicans in Congress refuse to accept the reality of the climate crisis, and now we have no choice. So the rollout, especially of the Green New Deal, wasn't perfect. AOC admits that, but some of the options that we have, and we have to use all of them really, are like better battery storage, a better power grid, better nuclear plants, better carbon sequestration, and what? There was another one that was like, I forget what they called it, but it was just like, what's the meat that's not meat?
Oh, like the Beyond Meat?
Yeah, like
stuff?
just stuff like that.
Yeah, like better alternatives
sustainable,
to animal products.
Yes, thank you. Drawing a blank. Yeah, so they're just trying to move in the right direction, because carbon is a huge problem. And I think I've talked about this before, but I was an environmental studies major who got too depressed studying environmental science and switched to public health. And like, this is just giving me like flashbacks to undergrad and learning about carbon taxes and carbon pricing and all of this stuff that I was just like, yep, that all sounds great. I hope they start doing that. And there's still hardly going on. But basically in America and within most capitalist societies where profit is the goal, you're free to pollute the air with carbon, because when you're ruled by capitalism, your only goal is profit without consideration of other negative externalities, like making the earth uninhabitable for future generations, which seems shitty to me. And like carbon
super shitty.
Yeah, clearly. I mean,
like, that's just like really shitty. And like, oh, well, doing these things for the environment and curbing carbon emissions, like, that's not good for business. You know what's also not good for business? Like, I don't know, flooding and wildfires and such crazy like weather and climate patterns that our agricultural systems are flipped on their heads, right. And like a whole bunch of things that like could eventually happen. And we should not make that someone else's problem 50 years down the road.
Right. The way I think about it is like, if you had a little brother who lived in your basement and he was making meth, like, you wouldn't be cool with that. It's not like the meth making just stays in his room. Like, these 100 companies that are causing 71% of the pollution, there are no, like, just like coronavirus doesn't see state and national borders, pollution doesn't see state and national borders. So we're fucking shit up for everybody else.
Seriously. Yeah. I'm seeing so many like parallels there, and like people being like, we got to open these states back up. We can't have the economy closed. Like, this is so bad. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but like, you know what also is like not financially great is being dead.
Yeah.
So
you wouldn't let your little brother make meth in the basement. Stop letting these 100 companies ruin the environment for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
It might not be my most beautiful analogy, but I still like it. But yeah, I mean, there's like, you get fined for stuff. Like, I don't know why you don't already get fined for carbon pricing, because like, if you're caught littering, you pay a fine. If you go over the speed limit, you get a ticket and you pay a fine. People should pay fines for polluting. And when something,
have to pay a fine for smoking in public.
Yeah, true. Net negative. Yeah, plenty of negative externalities with that. And the basic like fact of the matter is that when something costs more, people buy less of it. So companies would start limiting emissions to avoid those fines, and it creates incentives to it creates incentives to emit less carbon, mitigates the damage from extreme weather events, etc. And it's not like it's a completely new topic. 40 other countries have already instituted carbon pricing, and it basically is just putting a price on pollution. But you don't have to listen to me. I found a clip about Bill Nye talking about science, about climate change, and we're going to play that right now.
Yay!
Here, I've got an experiment for you. Safety glasses on. By the end of this century, if emissions keep rising, the average temperature on Earth could go up another 4 to 8 degrees. What I'm saying is the planet's on fucking fire. There are a lot of things we could do to put it out. Are any of them free? No, of course not. Nothing's free, you idiots. Grow the fuck up. You're not children anymore. I didn't mind explaining photosynthesis to you when you were 12, but you're adults now, and this is an actual crisis. Got it? Safety glasses off, motherfuckers.
And I think we can all agree that we don't want to let Bill Nye down.
No, absolutely not.
No, never. So what you hear a lot about on the news when people talk about the Green New Deal is, can it pass? Is it popular? How will it play? Is it good for the Democrats? Is it good for the Republicans? Like, who will it benefit? And these are all the wrong things to be looking at. Just like with our Medicare for All policy or episode, the policy itself is what people should be paying attention to. Like, Republicans are incredibly cynical and like to tear it apart without even really discussing the merits of it. But pretty much if you take anything away from this episode, I want you to know that, like, the Green New Deal it's ambitious, but it is absolutely the right way to go. And if you hear people talking about how it's infeasible or anything like that, it's absolutely not. It's going to be hard. I mean, it's a moonshot kind of, but it's the only way to really, like, rebuild the economy in a sustainable and equitable way. And with that, it provides job training, it provides healthcare. They keep equality in mind, just like how really all of our policies should now. We know that there are unintended effects of like certain policies, and we talk a lot about, like, including health in all policies. Well, like, this is no different. So basically, our best hope at getting the Green New Deal passed as soon as possible is electing Democrats to win in 2020. There are policy analysts that are ready to execute more specific policy ideas within it. But basically, as if this election wasn't important enough, I can't imagine any movement on this, like, super, super important issue without taking back the White House and the Senate. So we have some work to do. Actually, I saw Joni Ernst quote talk when I was researching the Green New Deal. She called it reckless and wasteful spending.
Yeah, Joni, so are you.
Yeah, actually, good point. Joni Ernst is reckless and wasteful spending. So the way to do that, basically, the way that they pay for it, which is what people always talk about, how are we going to pay for the Green New Deal? Once again, I want to reiterate that it will be more expensive to wait longer to address it. But basically, the way that we do it, just like the way that we fix a lot of the social erosion of our country, is by taxing ultra millionaires more. So having more like a 70% income tax rate, which is much higher. It's about twice as high as what we have right now, but it's very similar to, like, what we had when there was much less income inequality in this country and a much stronger middle class, which we're seeing go away now. So it's sort of just a return to, it's setting our values, like, really where they should be, and then trying to get a return to when there was a lot less income inequality. So yeah, I don't know. Do you have any questions about the Green New Deal that I didn't go over?
I think so. I mean, I think you got to what my questions were about them. Okay. Your comment on income inequality reminded me of something that I read in Sarah Kenzier's book, which is, like, everything we're talking about, because this is a Sarah Kendzior Stan podcast.
Absolutely.
About, like, income inequality, and, like, I kind of want to read it. So hold on.
Oh, sure.
It's not directly to income inequality, the thing I'm going to read, but it like gets to the problem of, like, what's one of many things anyway, that's destroying the country. Okay. All right. So this is from Hiding in Plain Sight by Sarah Kendzior. This is just a short snippet. Urban poverty and crime had begun to soar, but the most pernicious development was the no one knew had started: the structural transformation of income and wages. Until 1979, U.S. worker pay rose with productivity. Starting in 1980, the incomes of the very rich began growing faster than the entire economy, while the poor and middle class began to fall dramatically behind. growth in worker productivity between 1979 and 2017 grew by 70.3%, while hourly compensation grew by 11.1%. So productivity grew 70% and compensation only 11.
That is
However,
the perfect example. Go ahead, sorry.
this is really the part that just like I actually had to stop reading and try not to cry. Earnings of the top 0.1%, top 0.1% of Americans during this time grew 343.2% by comparison. So while your average worker, their compensation grew by 11%, the top 0.1%, so the very small number of people at the top.
Kylie Jenners of the world.
Yeah. Rose by almost 350%. Those are the difference there. If you want to know about income inequality, the rich gets so much richer while the poor get poorer and the middle class shrinks until there will eventually be just nothing there.
Yeah.
This is the stuff we have to stop. It's already out of control.
Yeah.
But
we texted about this a little bit yesterday, but like part of the reason that people like Steve Mnuchin and other like Republicans and Trump appointees in Congress like think that this $1,200 stimulus check is going to last Americans months is because they don't understand what it's like to be an average everyday American who like has a budget and has rent to pay. I mean, I'm sure he has rent and mortgages to pay, but it's not like 50% of his monthly income. You know, it's just they don't understand what it's like to live the average day-to-day life of Americans, which is why it's so important to get there's an organization called Brand New Congress, which is like exactly what it sounds like. I mean, Congress is made up of a totally inaccurate representation of what America looks like. It's dominated by rich white men, surprise. But that's, so it shouldn't be a surprise that they don't really understand like the lives that you and I live exactly. But yeah, so a Brand New Congress is one of the people one of the organizations that helped get AOC elected to Congress. And it tries to replace members of Congress that aren't doing enough for their communities with people who are actual everyday Americans. So like AOC, I mean, she's incredibly smart. She has degrees in political science, but she was also a bartender. She also kind of lived paycheck to paycheck. So she like fully understands what it's like to fight for everyday Americans. And Republicans are terrified of her, and it's kind of hilarious, but she's my hero.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I would love if they made a rule where if you come from generational wealth, you're no longer allowed to run for office.
Sure.
People would be so mad about it, and I get that, but also like check your privilege here.
It would do a lot of good. I mean, we would see a lot of positive change really quickly. Yeah. But so that's a really good organization to support. This week I donated to the Sunrise Movement, but I think I'm also going to donate to Brand New Congress because I'm now thinking about how much I love AOC.
I love that.
But speaking of, Trump appointees and having to get people who don't fight for climate justice out of the office. I mean, I think that was the main thing that like bothered me about all those Instagram posts about Earth Day is they had all those like 10 ways to reduce your carbon footprint. And it's like, if that list doesn't include vote for people who care about the environment, then it's missing something basically. So do you have an example of a shitty member of government who maybe wasn't, the best choice to advocate for environmental policies?
I mean, only a couple hundred in American history. However, Trump's first appointed head of the EPA, Scott Pruitt, total asshole. He is hardcore on that wrong side of the continuum.
Oh, yeah.
He served as the head of the EPA for a little over a year. He is a complete climate change denier. Like, what else do you need to know when the person appointed to lead the Environmental Protection Agency is a climate change denier?
Yeah.
Ugh. Like, oh my goodness. He did eventually resign after being under at least 14 different federal investigations. There might have even been more.
Wow.
Yeah, because he has literally no sense of ethics. Like, this is a straight up terrible person. Like not just a bad pick to lead the EPA, but like a bad person. I mean, just like no idea about ethical anything. Like, you know, he's just one of those people that had to resign from his post in order to not be held accountable for his shady actions, which included illegally spending a whole lot of taxpayer money in just so many different ways. Like, we don't have time to begin to cover them. And doing some government business with like private emails.
Oh, that sounds like it would be really bad. It sounds like it would be a huge scandal.
It sounds like something you should probably like lock someone up for.
Yeah, maybe, but maybe only if it's a lady.
Yeah, only if it's a woman.
Yeah. So it's almost like that wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, like, you shouldn't be using a private email server, but oh my God, it was not that big of a deal.
Seriously. Yeah. So he's the former Attorney General of Oklahoma. So, you know, before he was head of the EPA, he was wreaking havoc in that state. He's pro-life. He is anti-Affordable Care Act because he doesn't think people should have access to health care. He is anti-LGBTQ plus because, of course, and he thinks basically any action taken to protect the environment is bad.
Yeah.
Like, he's that's who he is. He's one of those people who also claims that his politics and his behavior are led by his religion. But he's actually a great example of one of those Christians who has just totally missed the whole fucking point.
Right.
Like, he actually tried to introduce a bill to give fathers, kid you not, property rights over fetuses in order to prevent abortion. Like, that was one of his tactics. Yeah, property rights. Ugh. Yeah, gross. Most of his activity is around actively trying to destroy the planet, though. But occasionally you got to throw in some misogyny and homophobia to spice it up.
It's a package deal.
Yeah, he's a very wealthy man. He is super shady and secretive about a lot of what he does. But like during his time as head of EPA, he was very, very secretive, very, very shady about every phone call, every meeting, all of his activities. He had like private calendars, and that's not legal.
Sounds like an innocent guy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the reason he was so shady about all of his activities were because they weren't legal. You know, but like when you're a lobbyist for coal and other companies that are just these huge businesses intent on destroying the planet, that's what you gotta do. You know, you gotta keep it under the rug. You know, you gotta bury it, but you gotta bury it real deep, because as soon as they start that strip mining, that shit's gonna get uncovered. Yeah, there's like so much documentation just about his efforts for like secrecy. Like, it's crazy, and like nobody goes that far to keep everything they do a secret unless the things that they're doing are really, really bad.
Right.
Yeah. After resigning from the EPA, he started an energy consulting business. So he's still out there being a real bad dude. He's promoting overseas coal sales currently. Yeah, and having meetings with officials from the same industries that he regulated while in charge of the EPA.
Great.
Cool. Yeah. So, not great. And note that the current EPA head, Andrew Wheeler, who replaced him, also does suck because he doesn't recognize climate change as like an actual threat, and is also best buddies with the coal industry.
I was going
But-
to ask if he was replaced by anybody any better, but sounds
No.
like not really.
Not really, although I don't think Andrew Wheeler is as quite as like just slimy. You know, from an environmental perspective, he is not a good person to have as head of the EPA for sure. However, I think in terms of just being like an awful human, Andrew Wheeler, at least like as a person, from what I could find by searching him lots of times on the internet, was that he's at least closer to the middle of our continuum. So he's farther from Hitler.
Great.
Yeah, he's close, getting a little closer to Stanley. So
Great. Again.
so great. Yeah,
set the bar very
good
low.
Work, DJT. Your picks here. Awesome.
Wasn't there also some like weird scandal where he sent like an intern to pick up a mattress from Trump Hotel? Not Andrew Wheeler, but Scott Pruitt.
Yeah, there was a lot of weird things like that.
I tried and never got to the bottom of that. I'm pretty sure it's illegal, but like, yeah, he tried to send an intern to Trump Tower to buy a mattress from the hotel. Like the intern tried to get the intern.
Yeah,
so it's
probably
like,
because there was some freaky evidence about something on that mattress that he didn't want.
And we'll never know. I mean,
No.
probably. We'll probably
He's
never know.
so secretive. We'll
Shady
never
as
know
shit.
most of the stuff he's done.
It's nuts.
Yeah, like so much shady stuff on this dude. Like I could have spent hours and not even been able to summarize it.
Yeah.
This guy, awful human. And like, this sounds real bad and the feds are coming after us. But honestly, not enough old white men like Scott Pruitt have gotten coronavirus and died. And I am disappointed, frankly.
Yeah.
I am disappointed.
I mean, if they're not facing consequences anywhere else in their life, so.
Exactly. I'm like, it feels like all the wrong people keep dying from this.
Yeah.
Just like, man.
Okay, so he's right of Hitler, Mitch McConnell, and Jared Kushner, but he's left of Stanley Hudson.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right, I will add him to our continuum.
That continuum's going to fill up very fast, all on the left of.
I know we're going to have to
Stanley
start talking about some nice
Hudson's
people.
Yeah,
But I bet
are
we
gonna
can
have to
do
start
that.
talking about some. I think we can definitely find them, and yeah, we'll do that. People, send us your nice people that we should put on that right side. I'm going to go ahead and cast a vote for my grandpa to be on the right side of the continuum.
Oh, yeah, your grandpa's a sweetheart.
Yeah, he can be right up there.
You'll have to
next
send me a
Chris
picture
Evans.
because everybody else, I can find their pictures on the internet, and I'm not sure I can find a picture of your grandpa on the internet.
I'll send you one. He's cute. He kind of looks like the old man from Up.
Perfect. Even better.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think that brings us to our political actions for the week. So, what have you been up to?
Well, for Earth Day, I did take all of the earthday.org actions that I possibly could in a single day. And so that was great. And, obviously, took the time to encourage others to do the same while also pointing out that, yes, let's keep doing these things, meatless Mondays and recycling and reducing our plastics and all of these other personal things, but also, let's also not forget to vote, and those kinds of things too, which is so important, and to donate to the organizations that are doing things. Being in Iowa, somewhere that doesn't do great on the clean water spectrum, it's that's an important thing to me and to a lot of Iowans who don't even probably realize how bad it is. So that's another thing that I'm making sure I just talk to people about. And then this week, I am donating to the Human Rights Campaign. So everybody's heard of that one. Even if you didn't realize it, you've seen the equal sign bumper stickers out there.
Right.
With it being Sexual Assault Awareness Month, something that's incredibly important to every human on this planet. Them, along with a lot of other organizations like RAIN, they're doing a lot this month for survivors and for awareness, and so want to make sure to be making some donations there. And I did sign up for my first election phone bank.
Oh my God, good job.
So very excited
If
about
I had
that.
any courage, I would absolutely do that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like, my self-confidence ebbs and flows.
Right.
If we're having a bad day, I'm probably going to break down into tears the first time I get hung up on. But yeah, and then just like kind of another like little fun thing is because I'm trying to support a lot of local businesses right now. I'm trying to like purchase things from them, but also like looking at the organizations and businesses that give back to important causes. So I share their stuff on social media all the time. It's like my favorite local business. But Ray Gun, the t-shirt company, I mean, they sell a million more things than just t-shirts, but that's really what they're like originally known for.
I've got my Ray Gun birth control pill and my I have one that has ovaries on it. What is it? Do you remember what it says?
Is it the ovaries before brovaries, or is it the get your own then tell it what to do?
Yeah, yes, I think it's that one.
The uterus is like get your own and tell it what to do. Love it. Yeah, I love all of their stuff. Like Ray Gun is the best, and right now they have shirts that are supporting local food banks across the Midwest, and so I'm loving that. One of their shirts is like "In Fauci We Trust." That's probably my favorite.
They're so quick.
They have multiple Dr. Fauci shirts. They are so quick. And here's a little thing to not only all the gentlemen, but some of the ladies out there too. The day after Donald Trump tweeted about the filthy mouthed wife thing about Chrissy Teigen, the next day they came out with a shirt that says filthy mouthed wife.
Yeah.
Wife. And I want that shirt so bad. So somebody please marry me so that I can get that shirt. Please. No. And that's all. What are you doing this week, Katie?
Okay, well, like I said, I had sort of a rough week. I did go to my swing left party on Monday, and there was actually a guest from the swing left campaign who talked about how cool the vote forward stuff is. He answered some questions about those letters that I write. So I wrote 20 of those. This week I did it to Georgia in like solidarity with their idiot governor reopening businesses last Friday. Well, last Friday when you're listening to this. But so I don't know. I'm just doing my best for Georgia. I'm up to 110 letters total, so I feel pretty good about that.
You're killing it.
Thank you. And then I decided to donate some money to the Sunrise Movement, which is a group of young people who are dedicated to improving the climate, and they have a lot of input and support for the Green New Deal. So I figured that would be a good one. And then I don't know how many, like, if this is a thing that people are interested in dedicating their time to, but the National Democratic Training Committee has a lot of really interesting, like, 1-hour webinars here and there. So if you, like, sign up for their listserv, you get emails about different trainings. And there was one about, like, sharing your personal story and one about, like, connecting with voters. And obviously, like, I'm not running for office. But I'm trying to connect with you guys. So it just seems... I have, like, fully accepted the fact that I'm just kind of a nerd now, and, like, that's how I like to spend my free time. So if that sounds interesting to anybody else, if that sounds interesting, like, they're pretty good webinars, honestly. So that's easy and it's free too, but it does take a little bit of time.
And someday we might be angry and wealthy enough to actually run for office. So these are good skills to learn.
I get angrier every day.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. All right. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
I don't think so. I mean, there is, but, like, nobody has time for everything I've got to say.
Oh, I do have one thing that I wanted to mention, and then we will get out of here because we are trying to make these episodes shorter. We just have so much to say. But
and we like you guys.
I know, we just like you guys so much. We are going to come out with a series about each swing state.
Yeah.
So the idea behind that is that we, to put it nicely, have a hard time getting ourselves jazzed up about Joe Biden. He is just not progressive enough for our liking. But that does not mean that we are not excited to vote. Morgan especially lives in a swing state, but there's tons of important elections on every ballot. But we want to go swing state by swing state to talk about what you have to look forward to in that state. So we're going to start next week with Georgia. And we are really excited to tell you guys about what's going on in each individual state, who you're voting for, who you have to vote against, what kind of issues are going on, like if your state, if they flip their government blue, if you would expand the Affordable Care Act and things like that. So I've had a lot of fun researching that stuff, and we're excited for that stuff to start coming out tomorrow. Not tomorrow, next week. Ideally, I would love it if you guys would share that with the people in that swing state that you know, just because it is like a complete overview, totally dedicated to that state's specific local politics. So I mean, I'm enjoying learning about it no matter what, but and we already do have some listeners in Georgia, but the more people who learn about this stuff, the better. And there is a lot to be excited about, even if you're not excited about your presidential nominee. So we're excited to get started with that.
Yes, I am very excited. I have notes on you, Brian Kemp.
Oh, yeah.
Notes.
Oh, we have shit to talk. We have shit to say. No,
Can't wait.
No mediocre, shitty men escapes from For Your Misinformation unscathed. We got to continue them. It's up, it's physical, it's on the wall. We will not forget. All right. All right, I think we successfully made this one shorter. We did it.
All right, go us.
All right. Well, then we will talk to you guys next week. Do you want to try our new sign off? Do you see what it is? Do you see what I wrote?
Oh, I didn't see it. I was like, what's our sign off? Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll say the first part.
Okay.
All right. All right. We will talk to you guys next week. Stay sexy.
And God bless Sarah Kendzior.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for listening to For Your Misinformation. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. And if you like it, give us a rating and a review. It helps us find more listeners, and the more of us there are, the better.
And make sure you're following along on Instagram and Twitter at FYMI Pod.
Shout out to Kyle Dibdahl for the intro and outro music, Hope Dye for the podcast art, and Ben Schlofelt for the audio production.
We come out with new episodes every Monday.